Here bringing you another new fantastic episode with our newly coined show's name, Chicago versus Everybody, because Chicago is the best. Chicago is constantly surprising people, and I love to report on all of the positive Chicago-based news, information, everything that I see out there as a top leading real estate professional. I like to bring it in, and I don't necessarily just want to talk real estate stats. I want to go an overall wholesome approach to giving you guys the knowledge and information to really understand why I am such a big advocate for Chicago. Chicago versus everybody. It's just my feeling. I love it. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. The first story. So, the first story is something that I've actually reported on before because this isn't the first time this year that this has happened. Chicago ranks first in the nation for home price growth. This is the third consecutive month that we are in the top spot in the country for home price growth with a 5% increase in value. Now, when we're talking about home price growth and also Chicago, this encompasses all of Chicagoland, right? So when I talked about this before, people were like, well, what about the suburbs? And what about this and that? And I'm like, listen, this is an overall comprehensive valuation of our region, right? So it's not suburbs versus city, city versus suburbs. This is just overall value growth on average for the Chicago land area. And it is fantastic news for our city because we get nothing but negative publicity, but nobody ever talks about the positive side of what Chicago brings. Chicago is steady Eddie. What do I mean by that? One of the things that they reported is that we are enjoying this growth because other cities are seeing a lot of decrease in value. This is just an example of the way that Chicago positive news is always spun with a, hey, look at how great Chicago is doing. But it's also because this is the negative spin on it. I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. It's not our fault. People have overvalued properties in other regions. And what happened during COVID is that there was just these spur in values, like to the next level where people just, it's just so obvious that it wasn't going to be sustainable. And people kept spending that kind of money. In Chicago, we definitely had heightened values, crazy increases in values across the board. But Chicago is steady Eddie in the sense that we never lose our heads when it comes to the valuation of homes and properties. At the tail end of last year, I predicted this. I said that we are going to be the most successful and most consistently growth market because we never went too crazy up, so we don't need to go decrease too far down. I saw a story, Miami, one of the most overvalued markets in the country, and I couldn't agree more because yes, Miami's enjoying all of this crazy hype, but then cracks are starting to show in the valuation process because at the end of the day, money isn't funny. Money is real, and you have to have a basis for valuation. And when you start losing that, which was happening across on the coasts, people couldn't explain why they were spending $200,000 to $300,000 more. They were like, well, it's just all these other people are willing to do it, so I'm willing to do it. Yes, that's one sense of the market, but you have to stay in line with comparable units, and it has to be a slower consecutive push. Chicago just keeps its head on. We keep delivering good product, a livable city, right? For the seventh year in a row, we're the best city in the U.S. by the Condé Nast, right? So Chicago just offers so much, but the livability and the affordability continues to thrive here in the city, and we keep getting a lot more people that are moving in for professional jobs, and people choose to call Chicago home because we are culturally just so diverse. We offer so much as a city. And when you're looking at the prices that it costs to live here to what you are making, it's the best city in America. So people keep seeing that. They keep putting their money into it, and we keep seeing the positive momentum from that growth. So that is a exciting number. I am happy to see that we continue on with this upwards trend for Chicago. I don't see it changing. I think that also don't use this as a reason to overpay for a home. I say this all the time. Keep your head on straight. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell. So you have to buy this right. You have to buy the home you're looking at right. Yes, overall average, we're up 5%, but I am negotiating crazy money off of some certain homes. So the professional that you're using, or if you're going out on your own, make sure you know how to value real estate and feel the pulse of what the true value is. Because if you are going to overpay in this market, you're going to get screwed. Even in Chicago, even in anywhere else, real estate makes sense if you know how to make sense of it. So understanding it is so important, and using a professional to guide you through one of the biggest purchases most people will ever make is so important. But overall, let's go. Chicago versus everybody. My first point, case in point, Chicago leads the nation in price growth for the third month in a row. Let's go. All right. Number two. I've been speaking on this for the last few weeks. I've been talking to my team, prepping them this for the past few months. NAR, National Association of Realtors, lost the lawsuit, the first round this week. It was massive. It made a ripple throughout the industry. It lost the lawsuit where that and Keller Williams and a few other major brokerages were called out as conspiring to inflate prices to increase what sellers pay for their real estate, for their commissions. It is going to be a long battle. I'm going to be speaking on this in another sense. I want to keep this more so focused on the overall confusion that is happening now, because people are not understanding what to make of this real estate and consumer side. But there was actually Axios, which is a fantastic daily newsletter that you should be signing up for, sent out something that verdict may lower home prices. And the first thing they reported on, look at this drop in value in Redfin and Zillow on the moment the verdict was called. I mean, it crushed the industry giants. I mean, it is not good. I mean, it bounced back up. I will say, on a side note, if you're into investing, this might be a good time to buy some stock. If you purchase this correctly, the businesses that have the right mindset in regards to how to kind of navigate this brave new world, you can make some money on that stock. That's just a side note. But what they're saying here is that now that buyer commissions are essentially up for debate, up for negotiation, which they've always been, by the way. But now that they're saying now the kind of consumer is kind of becoming a open eyes model and an open eyes conversation, they're saying that because the commissions are going to be negotiated down in their minds, this is going to lower home value prices. This is such an incorrect way to see this, because people are, like always, the thing is, people think that real estate agents are overpaid. And I'm going to be the first one to say 90% of my industry is. There just is. There's 90% of brokers, they're not worth the money that they're paid, which has gotten us into this problem, this predicament. But what's going to end up happening, here's what I predict is going to happen. I don't know if half of the industry is going to lose its jobs, but it's going to be pretty bad. There's going to be a really big shift and change with the way that we transact. But the same amount of home buyers and the same amount of home sellers will need to transact moving forward. So what do you think is going to happen? What I see happening is real estate agents, the best ones, are going to become consultants. And I've talked to my agents about that they need to stop seeing themselves as salespeople a long time ago. We are consultants. We consult people on how to save money and how to make money. Well, what do you think is going to happen when 30%, 40% of my industry goes away? We control more of the flow. So my services become more valuable, right? So I think it's actually going to become more expensive to buy a piece of real estate overall. This is such a knee-jerk reaction by Axios to claim that just because somebody's going to lose money out of the job that they work so hard for, now they can lower the prices of a home. I think it's asinine. And also, by the way, who sued NAR? It was home sellers. So also the first verdict is this is going to lower home prices. Like, what the whole point I thought was for home sellers to make more money. So there's a lot to be unwound and figured out, and new models that's going to come out of this. It will. But think of it like this as well. This is, from what I understand, out of this first lawsuit, there were, I don't know how many sellers, but on average, each one of those sellers made $2,000 back, which is great. right? Probably not their full nut on what they were made or paid for on the commission side of things, but the attorneys that were representing them made $800 million. Now, I haven't verified that, but what was the purpose outside of proving a point and destroying an industry? It wasn't obviously to make money, because if they were thinking they were going to make money, they didn't do that. And they just transitioned from one group that worked their asses off to create that value to a group of bloodthirsty attorneys that saw an opportunity, took it, and then just took the money from one pot to another. So I'm a bit in shambles, honestly, about how this all went down. The jurors took about 3.5 hours to deliberate. It wasn't even a question. It was our industry's future was written in stone from the beginning of this whole lawsuit. And I here just telling you that I don't know what the future will hold. I am preparing my agents to take full advantage of the new industry, of the new needs that people are going to need, because essentially this is going to knock out a massive amount of people that were ready and willing and happy to help people transact in the biggest transaction of their lives. That's going to wipe them out. And now, sure, I think there's going to be better representation of people overall, but that better representation doesn't come cheap, and it's going to become more expensive. That's what I got to say. That's what I think. I'm going to continue talking about this as more information comes out. Okay, let's flip the script. Let's smiles on faces again. Let's bring in the beautiful Billy Burns with Stonehaven, and let's get a market update on where we're at with interest rates as of today.
How is it going, Greg?
Well, I have these new earphones in. I can hear so well,
Oh, I
and
like you. I like you.
I'm always happy to see you. You make me very
Same
happy.
here. I
So,
appreciate that. You make me happy too, man. So here's the new market update this week.
please.
So the Fed met this week, Tuesday, Wednesday. They decided to keep the overnight rates unchanged. What does that mean for us? That this was needed. Honestly, we needed them to at least keep the rates unchanged and not continue to increase them, because the last 2.5, 3 weeks we've been seeing interest rates rise to where they were in the low 8% range, and that was just for like a single unit condo with 20% down. We're now seeing rates back in the mid sevens due to this rate being unchanged. So we're moving in the right direction. We just need, so the next meeting now is not going to be till the end of January. So, we got 2 months to see what happens in between there. We got the holidays, so people are going to go spending money. So that's going to help everything out on that end. But at that next meeting, it's going to be pivotal for us. I believe it's January 31st is when they meet next. In that meeting, if they keep rates unchanged again or potentially lower them, we will start seeing a major sell off in interest rates dropping, which will benefit everybody right now.
We are in very interesting time. I got to take this off
Yeah.
because I cannot hear myself talk to myself. So, Billy, when you're going to speak, I'm going to put him on. But we're
Yeah.
in a very interesting time because everybody, like I was reporting on this earlier, right? My quarterly report. There's two worlds. The one world is where people are like, "Oh, I'm just waiting for all the prices to go down," and it's a dumpster fire. And then there's the real world where stats and facts are showing that prices continue to increase,
Yeah.
and it's a continuation that we've seen without really any relief. So I don't really see a lot of difference in positive momentum coming from now until January 1. But the last few years, starting January 1, it was like a race. It's from January 2nd till, let's call it, April, May. It's just like boom, 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 crazy, 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 crazy. So I feel like that's what we
Yeah.
need. And it's smart for them. So they're not going to increase rates until January 31st. That's the next, well, talk about increasing rates until January 31st. Is that what you're saying?
No, so what I'm saying is that January, so they didn't change the rates this week.
Mhm.
So January 31st and February 1st is the next meeting, those 2 days. That if they keep rates unchanged again, that means that they are starting to feel that they've got inflation under control, which will then eventually start prompting them to start lowering those rates to where, like, those rates don't directly affect us. The more it affects how people. So if they keep that rate unchanged, they lower it, we'll start to see the sell off and we'll start to see mortgage rates come down. Now, one thing to keep in mind that I'm hearing competitors right now and just seeing, and I'm sure you are as well, is that with the rates being in the sevens, a lot of lenders are charging points up front. It could be a quarter point, it could be a full point. They're doing this in order to lower the rates. The only suggestion that I have for buyers right now is to really weigh that out. Because if you pay points up front right now, I am a firm believer that interest rates are going to come down here in 2024. That if you pay those points up front, you might handcuff yourself from refinancing at the end. So something that I've heard a lot, I know you and I've spoken about this before, is that principle of marry the house, date the rate. Because as rates fall, we'll just refinance you for free and make sure that your payments stay the lowest possible.
What's the latest read on inflation? Is it going down? Is it showing positive momentum downwards? Is that why they did not increase the interest rate?
Yes, yes. It's still not where they want it to be, but they feel it's starting to get in control. The jobs report was really good this past meeting as well. So things are trending in the right direction, but we still got some ways to go.
One last thing is that the prediction of if rates go down into the sixes, which some people are predicting
Yeah,
that it'll happen, let's call it March, April, we are going to see, because inventory is not going to like all of a sudden flourish.
yeah.
We're going to see a crazy new increase in home value growth. So there's a lot of confirmation and conversation right now about, even if it's a high rate right now, buy now because of that increase coming, and enjoy and appreciate that increase in value of your home. And then you can still refinance, but you now have all of that equity. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with that. That's why I kind of mentioned marry the house, date the rate, because you can always refinance. You can always refinance that home. I mean, you'd be able to speak to this better than I would, but when rates do come down to that 6% range, and well, here's the other thing about that too, though, is we're not seeing buyers not being interested in houses. It's still more of like an inventory thing. We're a smaller company at Stonehaven. We have about 16 to 18 employees. We're averaging over 100 pre-approvals a month in this high rate environment. So if we're averaging 100 plus a month, that shows you that the desire is out there. So that people are still want to buy. That I'm hoping in the new year that influences people like, hey, the demand's here. Property values are still strong, like you mentioned, Chicago versus everybody. And get into the house, get into the home, marry the home, date the rate.
No, it's all very good stuff. It's going to be a very tumultuous, interesting time. I feel like for the next 6 months. But also, real quick, just on the refinance front, Billy, is it true that once you close, you can't refinance till 6 months after you close? Is that right?
Yeah, well, every bank's going to be a little bit different internally. The thing about that is we don't have any prepayment penalties on our mortgages. I don't know many lenders that do anymore. So when the time comes to refinance, you can absolutely refinance. What loan officers will say is they want to wait for the 6 months because different investors will have different feelings of, if we give you $700,000 up front and then you refinance, because you skip that 1 month mortgage payment. So if you
Mhm.
close in December, your first mortgage payment is going to be February 1st to the 15th. So they want to see that you at least got the ability to repay the money we initially lent you, and then they'll refinance you. But the factual answer to that question is no prepayment penalty means you can refinance at any time.
Cool. Billy, as always, really appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by, giving us all the good news. What is the rate as of today?
Rate as of today is at 7.5. If you put down 30%, we're actually seeing 7.375. So right direction.
All right, good stuff, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Say hi to everybody at Stonehaven, and we'll talk soon. All right, buddy?
We'll do. All right. Always appreciate you all. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Bye bye.
All right. So now we are off to the last and final fun news story. But before I get into that, just to kind of touch base, last week at Vesta, we had the most productive, most successful week out of our entire history in regards to how many $1 million plus transactions we had, and also the overall volume we had in a week. So Billy is absolutely right. Buyers are out there. They're ready to transact, but they are buying deals and they are paying what the market is showing them that they should pay. I mean, I'm working with buyers, a lot of buyers that are very cautious but very serious. And then when we are going in, we're getting crazy deals. But we also got a deal that was at asking price last week because it was correctly priced. I am begging you, if you're looking to buy, make sure you are getting consultation from somebody that knows their head from their ass when it comes to how to value homes, where the market is going, and do not lose your shirt and make money. So many people are going to be making money in the next few months, but there's going to be so many people that are going to lose money because they're not getting consulted properly. Consultation matters. Okay. Now, the fun story. There is a new bathhouse coming to West Loop. I couldn't be more excited. I used to love going to the Red Square Spa, kind of lost its luster, and I've kind of lost a place to have a fun bathhouse. And there is a trendy New York based bathhouse concept coming to the West Loop. And it's actually from a failed condo development project at 1010 West Madison. And they're turning the project into this 40,000 square foot structure. And right now, the other location is in Brooklyn. And it's also opening up a spot in Manhattan. And Chicago's Bathhouse, like, check this out: large spa, multiple pools, a restaurant, and a rooftop pool. So this is going to be incredible. Look at this. I don't know if I can log into this. There we go. Oh man. Anyways, there's a really cool photo of, I don't know, people just chilling out, looking like we're in the good old Roman times. But it is very exciting. Construction will begin early 2024. Plans to open in 2025. I will be one of the first people to enjoy the schwitz, because there's nothing better than a nice schwitz, my friends. That's all I got. Chicago versus everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment. Let me know what you think. If you want me to cover other topics, follow me on Instagram. Stay in touch. And let's build this thing into a Chicago positive behemoth. And if you want to come at me, and you want to come at me as to why Chicago isn't the best, let's duke it out. I would love to talk to you. Grigory Pekarsky, Vesta preferred. That's all I got. You beautiful people have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.